Greetings all! Today, we'll be examining the common water flying type Pokemon Wingull, the Seagull Pokémon, and its relatively uncommon evolution Pelipper, the Water Bird Pokémon. Though their common and unassuming forms might not make them look like noble threats to be wary of, the members of the Wingull family are still classic creatures that can easily bring the power of the water to the sky in practice. Wingull have small main bodies with long wings that are mostly covered in white feathers, the only exceptions being a set of blue bands on their wings and the tips of their three-part tail. They also have black, slit-like eyes, small orange feet with 3 digits each, and a long orange and black tipped beak with a hooked end. Their evolved form, Pelipper, have much larger main bodies with 3 digit-like blue tips to each of their wings, as well as a pair of 3-toed blue feet and a blue stripe like a crest on the top of their head. Their eyes have changed to a semi-cut pair of black pupils with white sclera, and the front of the mouth and body has changed to being yellowish pouch-like extension that allows them to carry large objects within their bill pouch. Although the wings are considerably large in comparison to the rest of the bodies, and light thanks to the naturally hollow bones, Wingull cannot actually fly very well initially because it takes too much energy to lift and flap their wings fast and forcefully enough to sustain flight. Instead, these creatures use their large wings to glide over updrafts and air currents high in the sky above the ocean, oftentimes appearing as if they are literally skating across the air, only dipping down to the surface of the water to grab fish like wishy-washy every once in a while. The fact that they only go near the surface of the water for this feeding act has been taken note of by fishermen across the road, as they will actively cast their lines into areas of water where large numbers of the bird are observed circling around. When resting, Wingull will fold their wings up in order to protect them from accidental damage of any kind, usually from sailors and tourists that don't look where they are stepping. Wingull do not appear to be afraid of humans in the slightest, and will often land near people in large numbers, sometimes with the hopes of goading them into throwing small pieces of food their way. While many sailors and people in general consider them to be pests, few people ever go out of their way to chase off the carefree birds, probably because they pose no threat to the locals and actively avoid making their nests in places that would otherwise be inconvenient for people. When Wingull evolved, they ended up trading a large portion of their mobility and aerial grace for a sturdier frame and a wing structure that actually allows them to fly properly. Aside from suffering a significant drop in their base speed stat, Pelipper ended up learning an almost completely different set of moves. While Wingull have access to the quick attack, agility, and air slash moves outside of artificial means, Pelipper instead have access to the soak, protect, stockpile, swallow, spit up, fling, tailwind, and hydro pump moves. While Pelipper still nest within sheer cliffs near an ocean's edge, only young males gather food for the rest of the nest, and they are far more voracious in their eating habits than Wingull, sometimes being feared by swimmers that have a bad habit of looking like fish, as their bills are large enough to fit a small child inside. While flying, Pelipper will usually remain so close to the water surface that they skim it, waiting for a fish or group of fish to come into view. Once in sight, Pelipper will use their enormous leathery bills to scoop both fish and water up before swallowing both whole. As a result of their long bills, they can scoop up to 30 fish like wishy-washy in a single run, making for a meal that will last them for a long period of time. Perhaps not surprisingly, this swallowed seawater is what gives Pelipper the power they need to launch devastating hydro pump attacks from afar, something that Wingull were never able to anatomically do. When tired, Pelipper will simply rest on the top of the water, allowing the bobbing motion of the tide to gently relax their muscles and rejuvenate their energy. In looking at their abilities, it can be seen these birds have extremely strong eyesight and able to see vast distances with little issue, and thus have access to keen eye as a base ability, and some rare specimens can use rainwater in order to heal any surface damage to their bodies, possessing Rain Dish as a hidden ability. However, while Wingull can use the same sort of power on a more common basis to heal status afflictions with hydration as another possible base ability, Pelipper are more able to use their strong connections to the ocean and air to influence local weather patterns, and thus have access to Drizzle as a base ability instead. As far as the stats are concerned in the case of Pelipper, it can be seen that these birds are not exactly the strongest of fighters out there and lack much in the way of serious power, but at the very least their sturdy frames can take physical punishment decently well, and their special powers aren't entirely terrible, their base defense and special attack stats being above average for a fully evolved water and flying type Pokemon, so there is something to them that can at least be worked with. Wingull have a habit of keeping food hidden in their long bills, oftentimes as a way of preventing other Wingull from stealing and eating their meals before they can return to the nest. In order to prevent most predators from attacking their eggs, Wingull nest within the walls of sheer cliffs at an ocean's edge, using their water gun and water pulse attacks to gradually whittle out a home where one might not have previously existed. When winter approaches, these creatures do not fly south but instead choose to remain in their nests. Due to the extreme weather that often plagues the season, however, they almost never go out into the open. In order to keep themselves from starving, Wingull will store large quantities of food around their nest in the week preceding the first arrival of snow. As soon as traditional winter weather arrives, Wingull will use the snow and ice to keep their stored food refrigerated for many weeks at a time, allowing them to eat their stored fish at a leisurely pace. Unfortunately for humans, it is not uncommon for Wingull to steal items that are lying out in the open if they are shiny or look like food, making them an unwelcome guest in the eyes of many tourists and sailors that don't know how to keep their valuables out of sight. On the upside though, Wingull are generally quite well mannered and will almost always return stolen items if instructed to do so. In recent times, Pelipper have become highly valued among both small and large delivery services for the massive amount of weight that bills can actually support before being physically damaged. Pelipper are kind birds who are often seen carrying small Pokémon and even eggs, both theirs and those of other Pokémon, across the ocean out of the goodness of their hearts, which seems to indicate that Pelipper may have been used as the basis for the infamous stork legend, even if their final destination is unknown. People long ago understood this benevolence to be a rare gift and took advantage of it, employing Pelipper as daily delivery systems that could travel across vast distances with little trouble. In recent times, however, this activity has been taken to the commercial level and is now a major feature among both small island communities and large shipping ports that need to transport cargo in a hurry. Because they can store and carry individual objects or even multiple objects collectively for about the same amount of money that would cost to send those same items via a cargo ship, but at a considerably faster rate, Pelipper have become the hallmark of transoceanic transport for custom orders and specific items that would otherwise be pointless to ship alone on a cargo ship. By tagging each bird using GPS to keep track of the location, businesses can often send out hundreds of Pelipper at a time without worrying too much about where each bird must go, particularly because they are intelligent enough to understand both written and spoken directions without much difficulty at all, provided they have been taught to recognize those words and what they mean. All in all, Pelipper serve as living proof that the most high-tech option in any business isn't necessarily the best one to take.
Wingull and Pelipper are certainly a curious pair of birds that can be fun to observe on a nice sunny day out near the ocean. Wingull might need a bit of help from nature in order to actually stay in the air, but their gliding abilities are superb and make them great flyers even in bad weather. At the same time, they do tend to be a bit on the greedy side, so work with them at your own risk if you aren't fond of sudden food thievery. Pelipper take this to an entirely different level with their antics, but it's more from Pokemon that can get the big shaft there, though in most cases they usually mean no harm. Or at least that's in most cases. If you're a fish of some sort, then it might end up being less of a friend and more of a hungry beast looking to swallow you whole.
While evolution within the family might make it harder to deal with fast opponents in practice, the members of the Wingull family are unique creatures that can at least help you get goods from one point to another with ease. It might take a bit of time to get them calibrated to the desired location, but you might end up surprised about how well they can actually do in shipping with little cost. Just do yourself a favor and try not to have open food around them. It only takes the cry of a single bird to alert others, and before you know it, you might have a whole flock of these birds bearing down on you to rob you of your delicious treats. Thank you all for watching this video. It is a great pleasure to share with you all the fruits of my research and all the positives it gives to understanding the wonderful creatures we call Pokemon and how their powers and behaviors function in their world. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more work like it, please give a like, comment, and or subscribe to the channel so you can get regular notifications on when new content is being uploaded. You can also find links to my DeviantArt page, Patreon, and Discord server in the description below. Please, join me on this road to seeing what the world of Pokemon has to share with us, and the many mysteries and wonders that keep us all coming back for more.